Hey guys, it's Olivie Blake, and this is me not writing. It's been another weird weekend. I was traveling again, and I'm exhausted, and I just woke up from a nap. So, anyway, yeah, this is my bike. I actually used this to get around Chicago. In Chicago, things are just so crazy in the street with like pedestrians and cyclists and just like things everywhere that whenever you're driving, you're kind of paying attention to everything. Versus in LA, there's bike lanes and the cars and the people and the cyclists are very separated, which you would think would be safer, but actually drivers are usually not paying any attention at all. So Mr. Blake has gotten in a bunch of accidents with cars. He's gotten hit multiple times. Anyway, that's why I don't ride my bike here. It's really pretty though. Actually, these tires are surprisingly very good. So, I have coffee because again, I just woke up from a nap. Oh, first thing, I redid my website so that it actually has a little bit more functionality now, and it includes lists of things that I'm writing and reading and listening to in terms of music. And also I'm going to be, I think, a little bit more reliable about sending out newsletters and stuff, so when books are coming out, you can expect now to get an email if you're subscribed to my website first. That is the only time you'll get an email from me, basically, is like maybe once a month with whatever's coming next. And I guess whatever else you would want to get in a newsletter, I don't know. So that's a thing that's going to start happening. So if you would like to subscribe to receive my newsletters, of which there will only be one a month maximum, probably less than that, honestly. I would guess that it's just going to come out every time a book comes out. And there are books coming out. The next things that will be coming out are the third installment of Alpha, which are in Little Kimura's hands currently. So I don't know when that will be released, but that will be one of the next things. The next collection of fairy tales will be in the summer, and this is a very spicy collection of fairy tales. It is called LSV. I'll let you guys figure out what that stands for. It's gonna be more mature than the other two. Probably closer to Fairy Tales in the Macabre than Midsummer Night Dreams, which was very, dreamy and ethereal, I guess. And then I think the next book that I publish, that I self-publish, will probably be the series that I've been working on for a while, but have sort of put on the side and been working on in fits and starts. But I think I'm going to actually try to get that done, and I think it probably will be a series. I'm not 100% on that. It kind of depends on how the book ends. Right now, it's going to require more than one book, but we'll see. So anyway, all this stuff is on my website now. Also, now when I say link in bio on Instagram, you're going to actually be able to get the link to the latest video in my bio. So there you go. Like I said, it's been a weird weekend. And just getting back into it. So this is a bunch of random questions that I didn't curate very well, but let's see. And I've got like the remnants of a cough. What I hope it's the remnants of a cough. But as you know, I've been sick for several weeks, and that's just not changing. This is just my life now. So that's cool. Okay, this first one. We'll see how I do with reading this first one out loud. Okay. Hi, Olivie Blake. I have a success story for you. Recently, I've been trying to maintain my friendship with my ex. However, I had to tell my ex he needs to be more respectful and follow the rules like everyone else. He proceeded to call me a control freak and that he isn't going to listen to me. So I told him he isn't allowed to hang out in 2 weeks because if he won't follow the rules, then it won't be fun. Again, he called me a control freak and said he didn't want to go. I did the right thing, right? So I like how this goes from a success story to I did the right thing, right? Okay, well, obviously this is very specific and I don't understand the entire scenario. I'm not really sure what it is he is being allowed to go. There's a lot of troubling language in a lot of this that I don't know the details about, but I'm going to go ahead and start from the generic larger point, which is I never think it's necessary to be friends with your exes. I feel like I've probably said that before. It sounds like something I've maybe said before. But if I haven't, I don't think you need to be friends with your exes, especially not an ex who's calling you a control freak. I mean, I guess it's nice that I'm not sure whether you want me to be proud of the fact that you're making an effort to be friends or that you've put your foot down. I mean, obviously, I don't know who you are. This was an anonymous ask, so I don't really know which one is more in line with your personality. But it doesn't sound like it's worth being friends with this guy. My thing about relationships is you can't really replicate a platonic relationship so that it looks in any way like the romantic relationship did. So what happens when you start dating someone is you change. Your relationship with them changes its shape and its form and its function. You can never make something the way it was before. So yes, there are some couples who can turn their romantic relationship into a platonic relationship that isn't the same but still provides something. And I can sort of see how that would be. I actually am friends with a lot of my exes, but I wouldn't say that those friendships are important to my life, because the problem with being really intimate with someone is that it can be hard to recreate that particular brand of intimacy. Yeah, they still know you really well, but they know you in a very specific context. It's just, these things just don't translate very well, so I don't usually think it's necessary to try to be friends with your exes. That definitely feels familiar. That feels like something my tongue has said before. I don't know if that makes sense, but it feels very familiar to me. I don't know, again, I don't know what happened in your relationship. I don't know why it ended or how or what's going on with any of this. I wouldn't call this a success story. I would call this a story. I mean, this is what happens when you break up. You have to figure out how to coexist again. That's just a thing that happens. But I wouldn't force friendship here. I would say that it seems like you guys need to take your distance right now. He seems to, I don't know if he's putting some blame on you because of something that happened in your relationship. Maybe he felt you were controlling then. And so now he is sort of acting out in your friendship. But I will say that it seems like you guys need to take a break from each other all the way around. And maybe that's what you mean by saying that you wanted him to take 2 weeks away. But I wouldn't put a timeline on it either. I would just say, this isn't working right. Oh God, this dog barking. I would just say this isn't working for you right now, and I wouldn't force it to work. And for anyone else who is having any sort of similar problems, I just say, you know, if you can be friends with your exes, that's fine. But I wouldn't force it. If it's not something that's happening naturally or it doesn't feel the same, I mean, it shouldn't feel the same. It won't feel the same. It won't be the same. When your relationship ends, you have to create something new, something different, which can be very scary and a totally other topic. But yeah. So just in answer to this wasn't really a question. Well, okay, so the question is, I did the right thing, and the answer is, I don't know. I have absolutely no idea what's going on. But continue to stick up for yourself. You clearly need time away from each other. So if that was your ultimate decision, then yes, okay, yeah, that was the right thing. Then definitely don't feel pressured to bend to whatever it is he wants or expects. I think also what can be interesting about friendships with men and women, so I've mentioned many times before that my best friend is a boy, and my therapist once commented that his relationship with women and my relationship with men are probably forever altered because I am the woman in his life and he was for a long time the man in my life, which means that when we were dating, not each other, obviously, but I essentially hold the role of the woman in his life, and I often complain that I don't like the women that he dates. And my therapist was like, well, he has you for those things. And I thought about that in terms of what he has been in my life. He was always that very stable guy. He was always very open about his affection for me. He always kind of built me up, which was why I think I was dating a lot of guys who didn't do those things. So it's just very interesting when you have a relationship like that. What the relationships that are already in your life bring you can kind of change what it is you're looking for, which is a total tangent. Any tips for the LSAT or for law school applications? I've answered this question before. I forget my answer then. The one thing about law school is you better get comfortable spending money, because even if you can get a scholarship to law school, it's unlikely you're going to get a full scholarship. That tuition is super expensive. The books are expensive. Everything is expensive. So I'm just going to tell you, pony up for an LSAT prep class if you can. If you're not in a position to do so, I mean, take the practice LSAT and see how you do. I actually scored on my first practice LSAT pretty close to where I ended up scoring, but the LSAT is crucial. The LSAT and your GPA are the two main components to your law school application. If they do not meet the minimum standards that the school has provided, then they're not going to look at your application. So you definitely do have to score as high as you can on your LSAT. If your GPA is not great, as in it's not above like a 3.8, then you need to score really high on your LSAT. And the reverse, if your LSAT score is not very good, then you need to have as close to a perfect GPA as you can. Honestly, the law school market, industry, whatever, it's very oversaturated. There are a lot of people who are smart and they're told their whole lives that they're smart, so they should go to law school, and so they do. And obviously, some people are not actually cut out for law school. I would encourage you to think about, you've asked someone who dropped out of law school for advice about law school applications, so I'm going to give you more than you're asking for, but definitely consider what you want to do with your law degree, because unless you want to be in big law, in corporate law, in contracts, where your student debt is going to be, like, those are the only jobs where your student debt is not going to be a problem. It'll get paid very quickly because you're going to make a lot of money as a partner, even as a summer associate. But, if you were me, I wanted to be a public defender. They don't make a whole lot of money. I had a scholarship, but again, in order to get merit scholarships and things like that, you have to have the highest possible LSAT, and I did pay for an LSAT course. Also, in terms of tips for studying, it's just honestly, the LSAT is very formulaic, more so than the SAT or the GRE or any other test. I mean, it is not so much of a test of your knowledge as it is test of comprehension and pattern recognition. The logic section is what scares a lot of people away, but every logic puzzle has like a series of steps that all you have to do is follow it. So if you can get a course, if you can take the however many week course it is, and they will teach you how to unpack the logic puzzles, they're so easy. So just, if you can afford it, absolutely do it. It's definitely worth it. In terms of applications, you want to set yourself apart from everybody else. If you were pre-law, that's actually not that big of an advantage in my experience. Usually in interviews, they want to figure out how you're different from everybody else, because again, a lot of people are applying, and a lot of the people applying are fresh out of college and so haven't really done anything. If you have done anything, if you have worked in the world, a lot of law schools will find that impressive, because you bring something to the table outside of just, well, I've been in college for the last 4 years. Any leadership experience, this is relevant to all applications, anything that you have been a leader of, or if you still have time now, you're prepping your applications now, be the president of something, or be, I don't know, just take on any leadership role you can find right now, because that reflects very highly on you in an application. It proves a lot more about you than something you can say, I'm responsible and I am diligent and I'm creative. If you can say, I was vice president of membership and I increased membership by 20% this year, they love to hear that sort of thing. It proves your effectiveness and your skills better than you just saying, I have these skills. I'm trying to turn this into sort of a general discussion about applications. That's definitely true of everything. Try to have work experience that is not necessarily relevant to law, but that is specialized in a way that is interesting. So I guess what I'm trying to say is not your barista job, but an internship somewhere you worked where you got to have some hands-on whatever with some topic that you care about. I don't know, education, prison reform. Yeah, also, this is really random, but I think every interview that I had for law school, they asked me what the most recent book I read was. So, have an answer for that. And definitely don't choose something like War and Peace. They won't believe you and it won't be anything to talk about. But you might want to talk about something that's culturally relevant. Yeah. Hello, I noticed somewhere along the interwebs, I can't remember specifically where, so the interwebs is what I'm going with, that you have some tattoos, especially some Harry Potter related. What are they and why'd you get them? I have one Harry Potter tattoo. It is the word magic on the back of my neck, and in place of an A, it has a Deathly Hallows. I think it is only shown one time, and it was the time I was like hanging upside down doing planks in my TRX video. So yes, I have one. My other tattoos are, well, there's this one. There's one on my, like right here. I have one on my hip. I think that's it. Oh, and on my inner arm, but none of those are Harry Potter related. Also, okay, and this is where the question gets weird. Also, and this may be a loaded question. Well, now, just as a heads up, now I automatically think it's a loaded question. When and why did you get into Harry Potter? So much so that you decided to, 1, get inked, and 2, make stories and worlds for some character that were made up by a Scottish lady. Do you see how loaded this sounds? Why this fandom specifically? See, now there's the question. There's the real question. And just in terms of phrasing things on the internet, I personally would have cut the entire first line and just ended with, why this fandom specifically? Just curious. Love your works and videos. Thank you. Just in terms of making things sound less like loaded questions. So why Harry Potter? Well, to tell you the truth, I wanted to write erotica. I wanted to try it out. And fanfic is a very safe place to do that. I mean, it's expected. And there's no barrier to entry. It's free to have a username and just write on the internet. And yeah, I just wanted to try it to see what it would be like. I've said many times, the first fanfiction I wrote was because I couldn't sleep one night, and so then I started writing clean. And why Harry Potter? I don't know. It's the canon that I know the best. I used to reread the series in entirety once a year. Actually, this is something my best friend and I did together. He actually had really great theories about Harry Potter. He knew Harry was a Horcrux before the book 7 came out. I was really impressed with him. Anyway, why Harry Potter? Yeah, because I know it the best. It's the books that I read the most times and that I loved the most. It's also the book series that had the most, like, obvious problems. I mean, the epilogue is just so stupid. So it's not a perfect series by any means. I don't think I would write fanfiction for a series that I thought was perfect, because why would I try to change it? I wanted to make changes. And then I got the magic tattoo after I started writing fanfiction. My friend showed up and was like, let's get tattoos. And I was like, cool, yeah, this is a thing that I do. So why? Because writing fanfiction changed my life, and I felt like I wanted to memorialize that on my skin. So I guess it's not really relevant whether a Scottish lady wrote it, but she did, and I'm grateful that she created this world for me to play in. I think that obviously I've spent a couple years now trying to fix the things that she did to it, so I'm sure that will come back to bite me someday. I'm sure someday you guys will have if I'm lucky enough, you guys will have a huge problem with a series I've written, and then you'll have to write fanfiction to fix it. That's the hope, right? I guess I'm gonna use this to transition slightly into something I say a lot, which is to embrace your interests and your passions and what moves you and what you find interesting, which is really the basis of why I started writing fanfiction. I mean, the real answer to your question is I've always liked telling stories, and I wanted to tell a specific kind of story, and this was the best way for me to do it. And yeah, so I recently went to a writer's conference, which was very interesting and not in the way I was expecting. I kind of went there just to shop around my literary manuscript and try and meet people. And what I found really interesting about it is that the moments that I enjoyed the most were when we would be talking about writing and someone would ask my opinions on crafting their pitch, or and mind you, these were strangers. I do love strangers. Crafting their pitch, or I read a couple excerpts from people's writing, and then we talked about how they should brand it, sort of, figure out what genre it should really be, what comps they should pick, and sort of this unpacking the process of writing and talking about the craft of writing was so enjoyable to me. So I kind of recently made a decision that I was going to pursue maybe a little bit more higher education in literature, especially because because I really enjoy the process of discussing the craft of writing. Obviously, I mean, I make these videos and you guys ask me questions, and I try to give you as much information as I have based on my experience, but I do think that it would be nice to do that in more of an academic setting. I don't really know about that. I don't really know what the fruition will be at sort of the end of this road, but I think in terms of having a day job, I would like that day job to be talking about writing and about being creative, and especially because I use writing I use creativity and the production of art to basically soothe my mental disorder. And I think that's really important and something that I would love to actually research and write about and share with other people. I think there's a lot of people, and especially women, that could really benefit from that. I think there's a reason that fanfiction is so dominated by women. It's this totally free space to be creative, and I think it does draw a lot of people who do have depression or bipolar like I do, who are looking for an outlet. And I don't think, I mean, it's fandom, yes, but I think it's also just having a community, having an outlet, having something to produce. And I love that, and I'm proud of that. I'm also very proud of the fact that I am, I would consider myself a writer of erotica. I think that sex positivity and feminism is just really important to me, and I want to talk about how that relates to writing and how it relates to literature. Anyway, it's kind of set me off on this whole track of the process of figuring out what I'm going to do next. So I went to my alma mater and talked to some of my old professors and told them that this was my plan, and a lot of them were very, very encouraging of it, more so than I thought they were going to be. Anyway, so I guess it's kind of only loosely connected to this question, but just as a reminder, a few reminders. One, networking is really important, and it doesn't always take the shape of things that you expect. I honestly just stopped by my old campus and went up to my professor's offices, and they happened to be there, and we talked about some really great things, and I got some really great ideas, and I'm really excited about what I'm going to do next and my plans for what's happening next. But I really only went there just to chat. So just a reminder of other people, for one thing, can be very helpful if you're open about your passions and your interests. And also, don't be afraid to talk about your interests, and I think it draws like-minded people to you. So just a little encouragement for you if you're on the path of maybe you really care about something and you want to turn it into something else and you're not sure. Maybe you're about to try to take a new step, or you're thinking about taking a step in a different direction in your life. It's definitely something that is ongoing. I want to be a writer for sure. I'm going to continue trying to be published. It's also becoming more and more likely that if I'm traditionally published, I will have to do it under my real name, because it will probably not be fantasy or supernatural in any way. So I don't want to confuse people who are looking for my stuff. So this is not really related, but I guess nothing's related. I'm just talking. So I will probably continue to self-publish fantasy, paranormal, that sort of thing. And then I am trying to traditionally publish literary, the stuff that's not magic and just about the human experience and life and love and hopefully beautiful prose. This isn't really a story because nothing has really happened yet. But, candor is sort of the thing that I hope for, and I want you guys to know that I think about these things a lot too. I change direction at times. I'm just not super thrilled with my current day job, and I want a different one, and it's going to be a sort of long process. A PhD in creative writing is a 5-year endeavor, if that is the direction that I choose, and it's kind of getting to be more comfortable with the idea of having a long-term plan. I think a lot of things, I was always very eager to, what is the next thing going to be? What am I going to do next? What is my immediate future? So it's just a reminder that when you network and when you follow your passions and when you try to make moves to make things happen, you're actually laying a foundation for things that are going to happen much, much further in the future. How could I have ever known that the night that I couldn't sleep and I started writing something just to see if I could, I would end up here? So anyway, hopefully that's a little bit of encouragement for you if you need it. Definitely in your corner. So honestly, I'd like to take another nap, which is unusual for me. I kind of wish I could just stop sleeping. Do you ever think about how much time we waste when we're sleeping? Like, I know it's not wasted, my body needs it, whatever. But I could get so many more things done if I didn't have to sleep. Yeah, well, that's all for this week. Definitely let me know if you have any questions. I sort of half touched on a lot of things today, so if you want to hear more about anything that I half brought up, feel free to let me know. Well, this has been me, Olivie Blake, not writing, and I'll see you next week.